On July 23rd, we are hosting quite an event at the Bell House in Brooklyn, and you can get your tickets now. Eliza and I will be joined on stage by some of the food world's most interesting figures, including Hailee Catalano and Chuck Cruise, and the one and only Padma Lakshmi. We will talk about summer cooking and some of the big topics of the day. The event will also feature a live taping of Bon Appetit's Bake Club with Jesse Shepchek and Shilpa Uskokovic. That's Hailee, Chuck, Shilpa, Jesse, and Padma, all appearing on the Bell House stage with Eliza and I. July 23rd is the date. Get your tickets at the Bell House website or the link in our show notes. I hope to see you there.
Or even going to restaurants as a kid, I remember being enamored by it. I remember I got lasagna once. I was like, I wonder how they made this so fast. Because when my mom makes lasagna, it takes her hours. How did they get it to me in 20 minutes? I would just think about things just being in a restaurant like that, which I feel is kind of interesting for maybe a 10-year-old.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. Hailee Catalano is a trained chef, former restaurant cook, recipe developer, and one of our favorite voices in all of food. She is also the author of a terrific new cookbook, By Heart. On this episode, we talk about Hailee's early years in Chicago, growing up in an Italian-American household, and her later years working the line as a cook before launching her social media account on a lark. If you follow Hailee, you know her unique take on home cooking is absolutely mesmerizing. And we talk about how she thinks about developing recipes for Reels and TikTok. We also talk about our live event in Brooklyn on July 23rd. I will be speaking with Hailee and our partner Chuck Cruise on stage. It's going to be such a terrific evening, and tickets are on sale now. But first, I hope you enjoy my conversation with Hailee. Also on the show, we have a great conversation with David Nayfeld. He's the chef and co-owner of Que Fico in San Francisco, among other restaurants, and the author of a great new book, Dad, What's for Dinner? We talk about restaurant life and how cooking for his daughter inspired him to write such a unique book. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hailee Catalano, welcome back to This Is Taste. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to talk about your book.
Yay!
It's truly one of my favorites of the year. I really enjoyed reading through it. It really takes a cool point of view. I think you really show your skills as a chef. You make it accessible, but there's also so much learning in it. There's a lot of info in it.
Thank you. I really appreciate that's what I was hoping for, people to learn, but hopefully not in an intimidating way.
Definitely not. You've thread that needle. It's tough to do.
Thank you.
What's food like in your house growing up?
Yeah, so I come from an Italian-American family, half Sicilian. But my mom learned to cook from my dad's mom, so she made all the Italian food as well. So mostly Italian food. And then my mom was also really into gardening. So she was really into making different type of vegetables. So kind of seasonal Italian-American, really, which is basically my whole cookbook. A lot of vegetables, a lot of pasta, and a lot of love, really, honestly.
Yeah, well, you dedicate a chapter to your grandmother, which I think it just kind of comes up and it's this is a significant part of the book.
Yes, it really is. Even though, obviously there's one totally dedicated chapter to it, I feel almost all the recipes are somewhat inspired by her or something my mom learned from her. And even just the whole gardening thing, I'm pretty sure my mom got into gardening because of my grandma and grandpa as well, because they had big gardens, tomatoes, all that as well.
Yeah. What is it about Italian-American cuisine that is so beloved, not just in America, but around the world? I mean, it's a narrow cuisine in many ways.
Yes.
It's very specific, and that's not a bad thing, but we see this absolute love, and I think the restaurant culture has something to do with it, but I'd love your take.
Yes. I think it's just the hominess and the comfortability of it, especially for me, obviously, because I grew up with it. But I feel it's just kind of everyone likes it most of the time, and it's just a simple, cozy, homey thing. That's why everyone kind of goes towards Italian-American food, I feel like. What else is
There's a familiarity there, too.
Yes.
I feel like we've grown up on it. The ingredients are not
Yes.
too hard to find.
Yeah, they're around.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, who doesn't love a tomato?
I know. Who doesn't love a tomato? Who doesn't love some garlic and olive oil?
Yeah, exactly.
And who doesn't love like melted cheese?
Exactly.
You
That's
know
what
where I
I
was
was gonna
going
say.
with
Yeah,
that.
sizzly cheese.
But also what you do in the book is you drill down into some specific recipes of Italian American cooking.
Yeah.
And you give it this chef point of view. I mean, these recipes have steps. It's great.
Yes,
You haven't
it is.
watered it down.
I tried not to. I really enjoy, like I wanted it to be a book that like for people that want to cook. I feel like, and like learn something, like we were saying, like cook and learn something. And like there are recipes in there too for like, maybe 30 minutes or this or that. But I feel like I wanted it to be like half a little bit like less time and then half maybe like this is something I do on a weekend project or like something I look forward to. Because when I would buy books or buy cookbooks, it's like for me, I want to like think of it as like, oh, I can't wait to do this on Saturday as like this is what I do to spend my day off type of thing. Because that's like when I was a kid and stuff, like getting cookbooks or magazines, it was always like, I was in school, but then I was like, oh, what do I get to do fun on the weekend?
Fun, right.
And it would be like, oh, this recipe from Ina's book or something like that. So I wanted to have some more
project-y ones.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that leads to my next question. You write in the book, candidly, as a 12-year-old, you knew at that point that you wanted to go to culinary school. That's a young age.
I know. I was very like blessed to know what I wanted to do with my life because I know a lot of people, it's really hard to figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I feel like I was just, like I said, always around food. My mom always cooking, my grandma always cooking. And I remember like when I was young, I'd be like, oh, I can't wait till like one day maybe I can help them chop that onion. Like this was like when I was really small. But at the time I didn't think like, oh, I want to be a chef. But it was just like all these like kind of random thoughts of like me wanting to cook all the time, but maybe not thinking totally I want to be a chef. Or even going to restaurants as a kid. I remember being like enamored by it in some sort of way. Like I remember I got lasagna once, speaking of more Italian American food.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder how they made this so fast. Because like when my mom makes lasagna, it takes her hours. How did they like get it to me in 20 minutes? Like I would just think about things just like being in a restaurant like that, which I feel like is kind of interesting for maybe like a 10-year-old.
It's so fascinating because I share that.
Really?
I do. I remember thinking, like, what is going on back there where you could, like, this waiter with this big heavy tray comes out with all these dishes.
It's mesmerizing.
It really, as a 10-year-old.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, it's just so cool. So I feel like I've just always been, like, drawn towards it. And then, like, when the Food Network, like, really blew up, or I guess around the time that I was young, I was like, oh, I want to be a chef. Not because I wanted to be on TV or anything, but because I was, like, saw all those things in my life, and then I was like, I feel like I want to cook. And then that's what I did.
I mean, 12 is early. I mean, what's your Food Network diet like? Are you like Giada? Are you Mario Batali? What are you looking at?
Well, the first ones I watched were Rachel Ray.
Oh, yeah.
30-minute meals. Yeah, 30-minute meals. I loved them. I was really addicted to 30-minute meals.
Yeah.
The garbage bowl, like in the beginning. Did you watch 30-minute
Oh my
meals?
gosh, of course. And the garbage bowl.
Yes.
And then like EVOO.
Yes, EVOO, for real. And like
For real.
when it started, remember she would like grab all her ingredients and try to hold them like all, because she only had 30 minutes. Like she would go to her fridge and like she'd get it all from the pantry. I was like, she's amazing. How is she carrying all that?
Yes.
And I was just enamored by watching 30-minute meals. And then that's actually like the first recipes I asked my mom, like, oh, can we make this together? Like 30-minute meal Rachel Ray recipes. And then I got into Giada and Ina.
Yeah.
And I think those were my
Those are your three.
Yeah.
Well, back to Rachel. I feel like we just need to give Rachel more credit.
I agree.
She is just an absolute American treasure.
Yes.
And
she is.
I'm thinking about her now, and I feel like she really taught so many people to cook.
Yes.
She did that show in real time.
Yes.
There were no edits and cuts. I mean,
isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
That's so hard to do. And she was so like fun to watch too. Not only could she make the food and that, like she was so fun to watch. Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. I hope one day Rachel will come on the show and we can have a conversation.
That would be great.
It would be
$40 a day. Do you remember that?
I do. I think she really hit like home some ideas that were not in food TV.
Yeah.
Budget and time.
Yes, true.
Right?
Budget and time. That's true. Both of those shows.
Both those shows.
True.
I mean, they were done in print. Like Parade magazine obviously had like cooking on a budget, and that was been done forever. But to actually give viewers permission
Yeah.
to cook this way using products that are pre-made.
Yeah.
And it didn't have to be that from scratch
Yeah.
Martha Stewart style.
Yeah. You could do something quick if you had to.
It's did you watch any like travel food shows?
I didn't actually really get into more of the travel food shows until later on. Like Anthony Bourdain and stuff I would watch. But that was much later on. That was probably in culinary school that I started watching.
So you go to culinary school and you work in the industry for 7 years.
Yeah, about
7 years, which is a long time and a lot of jobs. I don't know where you worked and you shout out some chefs in the acknowledgement, so there was obviously people in your life. But what was your restaurant professional experience like?
Yeah, so after I graduated associate's culinary, I was going to do the bachelor program at the CIA to learn, I guess it's about hospitality, which I started, but I only lasted I think 3 months or something. I didn't even make it to the through one semester because I was I just want to cook. I don't.
Was that it?
Yes, I was I don't want to cook. I mean, I just want to cook. I don't want to learn about hospitality stuff.
No, fair. And you wanted to work in restaurants.
Yeah. So I was I feel like I'm kind of wasting my time doing this. So I dropped out of that. And then we went to work at a place called Tall Day in Jersey City.
Oh, yeah.
They used to have one do they still have one in Brooklyn?
They don't.
Okay.
You worked at Tall Day.
Yes. Yeah.
Pot stickers.
Yes. The pretzel dumplings.
Dumplings.
Potzers. Yes. Those were good. We made a lot of those. Well, Chuck made
with
them
mustard, right? With spicy
yes,
mustard.
Those are delish.
Those, I went to the one in Brooklyn quite a bit. I know Dale pretty well. So I thought that dish was amazing.
It's so good. So innovative.
Yeah.
So we worked there. But at the time that when they opened that, it was also half an Italian restaurant. One kitchen, half Italian restaurant called Carino Provisions, half Tall Day.
Wow.
So in my first job, basically, that's my big first job in a restaurant. I worked on a wok station. I worked pasta station. So I got 2 different noodle experiences, but pasta, and then I worked wok. And then I did some hot apps, but those are mainly the 2 that I did.
What's that like working at Tall Day? What kind of skills are you picking up? What's the experience like?
Yeah, well, I never knew, I've never worked on a real wok. So learning that was really, really cool. It's totally different. It's totally different.
Yeah,
it's
the hand moves, yeah.
Yes, it's I'm doing this, no one can see me, but I'm doing the hand moves of the wok. But it's actually opposite of your dominant hand, which is so interesting. You use your left hand if you're
right-handed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I learned a lot about, I definitely learned how to make fried rice because I did not know how to make fried rice before that. I was probably, putting all this sauce and stuff in fried, but that's not what makes good fried rice.
Tell us tell us from your training, how do you make proper fried rice?
Well, the biggest thing that we learned there was the egg is very, very big, very important, how it kind of sizzles up.
Yeah.
When it hits the oil. And then the wok is the biggest. That's the flavor that you really want in rice, in fried rice, the wok, the smokiness maybe of the wok.
Yeah. So some would call it you're not burning the rice because that's a negative term, but you're adding color and heating up the rice in a way for some home cooks that's aggressive.
Yes, yeah. And it's you definitely need to hear a sizzle.
Yeah.
And just learning how to cook on a wok is totally different than a stainless steel pan or something like that.
Yeah.
Definitely has to be a lot hotter.
So you're at Tall Day. Is that where you meet Chuck?
No, we actually met in culinary school.
Met in culinary school, but you both end up working together at Tall Day.
Yes. When I dropped out of culinary school, the bachelor part, Chuck he was never going to do that part.
Yeah.
So he was trying to find restaurant jobs. And then it came up that Tall Day was opening a new restaurant and they were just hiring line cooks. So we're we should do that.
Yeah. So where do you end up going after that? What's the journey?
Yes. After that, we moved back to Chicago.
Yeah.
Because I was missing Chicago. And where did I work? Oh, I worked at Dose Urban Cantina, which was owned by the ex-executive chef, I believe, of the Frontera group, all that
Rick Bailiff's restaurants,
stuff. Yeah. So we worked there for maybe 2 or 3 years. Kind of there was a break that we went to Southeast Asia. Then we came back.
Oh.
That just for fun. We wanted to do that. So maybe 2 or 3 years there. And then we also both started working at Cellar Door Provisions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was at the time when I started working there, and also Chuck, mainly a daytime, all day cafe, or not all day cafe, daytime cafe.
Yeah.
with like pastries, sourdough. That's where I learned how to make sourdough.
Yep.
And like seasonal food, like very seasonal, like change the menu like every day.
No, I love that place.
Basically.
I got to go in
You've been there.
that
Okay.
cafe era that you're talking about.
A great era. What year did you?
I mean, we're talking, could it have been like 16, 17?
Oh, we were probably working there.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. 16 or 17?
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
Chuck
so.
is off mic.
Sorry.
No, this is great for a podcast. Chuck is in the building, but not on mic
Sorry.
today. I love.
Yes. No, you're definitely
we'll have
working
Chuck back on the show soon.
Sorry.
No, I love it. No, keeping this in the cut. Let's
That's
keep
funny.
That's an amazing place.
Yeah, it's so good. And I learned so much about a lot of things there. Like, yeah, so much. Like everything, we made everything. Like literally made everything. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And we only source things from like Illinois or like
Farms around there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
even like, yeah, everything. Like the oil. Like we didn't use olive oil for most of the time.
Wow.
Trickling at the end, we started using olive oil.
That makes it really hard for you to do that model.
Yes,
sourcing locally.
yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
But it was very cool. Yeah, I learned so much there.
Yeah.
But those were the bulk of the places that I worked for that time. I'm trying to think. But then, of course, randomly throughout the whole time of me being like a line cook or sous chef stuff, I had like a bunch of like daytime jobs before I'd go to my. I feel like a lot of line cooks have daytime jobs
Yeah.
before they go to their.
Like office jobs?
No, like barista,
Yeah.
Uber driver, Instacarter.
Yeah.
What else did Donut shop I worked at?
Oh yeah. Were you making donuts in the back?
No, just serving them.
Just serving them.
It
What was that like?
That was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like I always tried to choose like a more easy job in the morning.
No
Because
doubt.
I was going to be going to my other one. So yeah, I was just putting donuts, but it was fun. Kids would come in. It was called Glazed and Infused.
I like that
yeah.
name. I don't know the spot.
Yeah.
I mean, Hailee, like, I'm just doing the math. You're working like 80, 90-hour weeks.
Yes, I did used to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like the thing, like I always talk about, like, if you want to be like a line at the time, I don't know if it's really the same anymore, but it's like if you want to work at these like cool places and stuff, but it's always like in a city usually.
Mhm.
So it's like kind of hard to afford a city
Yeah.
when you like make line cook wage.
Yeah.
So usually you'd have some sort of like beginning, like,
Morning job,
yeah.
supplemental job because you couldn't just live off a line cook's job. in
yes.
Chicago.
Yes. But I was young and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that's what I learned a lot during that time.
Yeah.
And very grateful for it.
No, you have the skills, obviously, from culinary school, but that
Yes.
7-year period,
Yes.
you became the cook you are.
Yeah, exactly that. If it wasn't for that time, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you get to Jersey and during the pandemic is kind of when both you and Chuck decide that like this social media thing might be interesting.
Yeah. Well, we originally moved back in January 2020 because we were like, I want to work in New York restaurants, like, 'cause I want to put that have that on my resume.
Yeah.
So we're like, yeah, so this would be a good time to like go somewhere else and try something new, because we had been working in Chicago for like maybe 6 years or 5 years at the time. So we're like, yeah, let's go to a new city. But then, so we move in like January 2020. So then that never happens because obviously everything happens.
Shuts down. Yeah.
Yeah, everything shuts down. So it was a really bad time to work in restaurants. So I had to start like thinking like what am I going to do? I don't know what kind of job to do. I was like a private chef for maybe a couple months.
Yeah.
And then that also like, because I think I did that from like February or so. So maybe it was only like a month. It was a short amount of time I was a private chef.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, yes, here and there. It was a different. It especially at the time, it was like I went from working in restaurants with a bunch of people, then really working by myself solo. So it was definitely an adjustment because I felt like really lonely doing it.
Yeah.
It's like kind of a lonely feeling, like you're in someone's house and there's no one around most of the time, and you're just kind of cooking by yourself.
Yeah.
But it was okay, but kind of lonely. And then that also ended. So I was like, oh, I really need to find a job.
Yeah.
And then I just did my like classic like Instacarting for some time.
Yeah, sure. And that was a busy time, obviously.
Yes.
So you're working Instacart. You're working in grocery stores during the pandemic.
Yeah.
What's that?
It was crazy as well.
I mean, first off, thank you.
Oh.
As someone who used Instacart during the pandemic, I always
Yes.
thought that is amazing, and thank you for real.
Thank you. No,
Dude, for
yeah,
real.
it was really crazy. Me and Chuck also did that together. We had a system where like we would switch off who was driving it to the house.
Mhm.
So it was kind of like not as bad of
Yeah.
a cycle. But it was okay. But then eventually I found like a small appliance company that was doing like you can work like testing stuff in their air fryers and stuff.
Oh, cool.
And you can work from home. So that's what I was doing for a few years.
That's a lot of air fryer time.
It's a lot of air fryer
Hailee.
time.
Like,
Just watching the air fryers. Chicken nuggets.
You're like bench testing this gear.
Yes.
You're watching the chicken nuggets.
For like 8 hours. It's like, oh, at 3 minutes, the chicken nugget looks like this. Or like,
Wow.
And we also did pressure cookers, like their version of what are those? Not a
Instapot?
Yes,
Yeah.
but not Instapot.
Yeah,
Their
the other brand.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of I made a lot of like pasta in an Instapot, and I was like, this hurts a little bit. It hurts
Yeah, the texture of an Instapot pasta, wild stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're both Midwestern, so we can joke together. That seems like a Midwestern thing.
Oh yes, definitely.
Sorry, Midwest.
Crock-pot vibes, yeah.
Crock-pot vibes, exactly.
A lot of dumping and closing the lid. Yeah.
Yeah, but like pasta, I mean,
Yes.
maybe some soups, obviously.
Yeah, soups is good. Yeah, in an Instapot.
But like spaghetti in an
Yeah,
Instapot.
crazy. Yeah. So I did that, but also grateful for that job because I had to learn like how to recipe test because there was also recipes.
Yeah.
And that was really helpful because I never used to look at a recipe the way that like obviously I do now
Yeah.
because I didn't use recipes at all because I was just cooking on, in restaurants. But it taught me like thinking about a home cook, how they're going to make it. Like, they might think like, oh no, I can't use a yellow onion. I have to put a white, like so many things that I would never think
Yeah,
about.
the swaps were needed. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I am grateful for that job too because I learned a lot about recipe testing, recipe writing. Even though it was in an Instapot and an air fryer, it's still the basics were there.
Were you doing content for them too? Were you like writing for the website of the company?
Yes. Yep. Right. Once I like did more of the testing stuff, then I started developing recipes for like the Instapots or whatnot. And then we also did video content, but I don't think I never really did that part. No, it was mostly just the recipes.
In the documentary of your life, that will come up. They'll find some of that.
Yeah.
Those videos.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Early days.
Yeah. That was a funny job. So I did that. But that job, I was like, I miss my creative outlet. Like I miss like cooking like how I used to cook and stuff. So that's when I kind of thought like maybe I can like make videos on TikTok or something as like a creative hobby because also I wasn't used to having like a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
So I was like, I have so much time. Like, what am I going to do with all this time?
Yeah.
So I was like, I feel like I could maybe do that. But I was like, I can't show cooking because
Why is that?
Because I was like, oh my God, what if someone that I used to work with sees me like doing this?
Wow.
Like I would feel so like embarrassed, I guess.
So you didn't want to do cooking videos because you
in
thought
the beginning, yes.
Because did you think at that time that it was just not you being on camera?
Yes, I was like, this is so like not something that I would ever do type of thing.
Yeah. Like no judge, right? I mean, it seems like you just weren't into it.
No, no, just because I'm like very like I'm not like I'm like a nervous person, like and I'm like shy, like it's a lot to put myself out there, and especially to put myself out there with something that I really love, like cooking. Like I feel like if someone didn't like it, it would hurt me so much, if you know what I mean. So that's why I was like, oh, I don't really want to show cooking because of that. Like if someone saw it, or I just don't want to be judged on something that I love so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'll do something adjacent, which is coffee, because I was a barista for some time. So I had a little bit of barista.
You were nice with the latte art.
I used to be. I don't know anymore.
Not anymore.
It's been a while.
You were doing like roses and other
I
things.
Used to be. So I started with that also because I was like, the barrier to entry is less. It's like I don't know how to like film something. Like I've never done that before. I barely use social media, but I was like, I feel like I could film myself like doing a coffee. That's like 2-step, 3-step thing. But something about like cooking was like, there's no way I could film a whole like recipe. Like
right,
that
because there was
so
like
hard.
too many steps.
Yes.
So did you get like an overhead? Did you just record with like a rig or something?
I just put my phone in a mug. And so it stood up, and I just
that was it.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know about tripods. I don't know any of this stuff. So I just put my phone in a mug, and then I just made my hands like making coffee videos. Like my face wasn't in it or anything like that.
How do they perform? Like, what's the initial feedback to your coffee videos?
They did actually pretty well to a point. Like I think I got like maybe around 200,000 followers on TikTok. from just the coffee videos.
Yeah.
And that was like maybe a year and a half to 2 years that I did the coffee videos. And then after that amount of time, I was like, oh, I know how to film. Like, I feel more comfortable, like, with it. And like, because I would start to do voiceovers with those. So I was like, okay, I feel more comfortable. I feel like now I can, like, do what I really want to do, which is showing food and stuff. So I started with, I believe I started showing my breakfasts here and there. And then I made pasta one day, and then it just like
a rigatoni?
Yes, like spicy, like vodka pasta rigatoni thing.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know at the time was trending, which I guess it was trending. And so I think it got like 17 million views or something. And then that's when I just like really started gaining followers on TikTok.
It's amazing that you tell this story about how organic it was. And I mean, this is really the start of like cooking on TikTok.
Yeah.
This like 2020, 2021 zone. It's like the platform is so new, and it's mostly known as a dancing video platform and other things, but like food had not really like broken out fully.
Yeah.
And like you are one of the biggest voices, you and Chuck, on TikTok, and it's maybe not. I mean, you're being modest, but like it's amazing that it starts that way.
Yeah, one video can really make it go crazy. I feel like I always think like, how did that happen? I don't know how it happened. I don't know. Yeah, it's weird because I was like, okay, well, one pasta video did good. So then I just started making a bunch of different pastas. And then I really gained like probably like 500,000 followers within a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Just from that on TikTok.
I mean, so you're not like doing growth hack stuff. You're not thinking about strategy here. You're not, there's no agency helping you.
At that time, no.
Not at that time.
No.
Which is why I love it so much. Because I think we've spoken with many who kind of started at least their public-facing careers on either TikTok or Reels and YouTube, and you hear the story almost time and again. I mean, has to be organic, and it has to be from someone who actually has worked in restaurants for 7 years.
Yeah,
not everyone. I want to be fair. Like, there's people who are amateurs, who have not professionals, who have done amazing work.
Oh yes, of course, yes.
But like, there's something about the restaurant chef taking those skills and then bringing it to the mainstream.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel like, there's so many, it can go either way. I don't know. I think the algorithms, they're crazy sometimes.
Yeah. If the algorithms was on your side. And last TikTok question, I mean, what's going through your head? Because you admit that you're a shyer person. You're not the extrovert of some TikTok creators, but then you're getting these millions of people commenting all sorts of crazy shit.
Yeah.
What's that like mentally, just having that parasocial relationship with your following?
Yeah. Well, when it first started happening, I was just like, whoa, this is so crazy. Like, I don't even know what's happening. Like, and I'm just like, when you first like kind of like read these comments and stuff, it doesn't really feel like that it's like actually people, I guess, and then you kind of become like, it's like, is this really a person? But then it is people. It is people. So it's kind of crazy. But always, like, for me, thankfully, I feel like I get a lot of positive reinforcement, which really has helped me continue to do it.
Yeah.
And give me more confidence to, like, talk to the camera more or like show my personality more. So it's been very helpful in that case.
Yeah, because now if you view your videos today, you're fully facing the camera.
Yes, which is weird for me.
Yeah.
But not anymore. But like, I never thought that I could ever do that. And I do attribute it to like, people supporting me. And without them, I would have nothing really. So
no, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a great story. I want to talk about the cookbook. We often are talking to authors before their tours, or New York can be often the first stop on a tour. But we're recording this when you just wrapped this tour for the most part. And I want to hear about it because like, you're meeting all these people that know you. They love your videos. They know you, but like, they've never met you. What's that like? What are those exchanges like around the country?
Well, in the same way, it's like, it was for me it was so great to finally meet people, because for however long I've been doing this, it's all, like I said, just me reading comments, and it's people, but it's like means so much more when you meet people. And like, you can see that, like, people care so much, which is so nice. And like, I can't even like thank people enough, because it's just like, I never thought people would be so like connected to it. And it really makes me like really appreciative, as of course I am. And just like, it helps me to want to like continue to do it, because it does seem like it's having a positive response from people. And yeah, I feel like that was the best part about the book tour for me was meeting people and like talking to them and hearing their, like, even just like a little story about like, oh, I made your yada yada and like now I make it all the time. Like that's what I hope people get from it. Just like small traditions that make your life a little bit more happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite stop or two?
Yes. Well, I like it all because I can't choose, and everyone is so sweet. But I did really enjoy San Francisco very much. I hadn't been there since I was quite young, so I was like, it was nice to go back. And then everyone, just like such a really great crowd there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I really, really nice. What else? I feel like, in San Francisco, there was a lot of places I wanted to eat.
Yeah.
But everything kind of closes at 9 there.
It's definitely early on the West Coast.
It was kind of hard to get a place, but like, that's why I want to go there again, just separate of it, because I was like, I really like it there. Where else? Austin was really fun.
Yeah.
That was really fun. We did it. First Light Books. Have you been?
Oh, I haven't been there.
Yeah, that's
good.
Really, really nice place. Yeah, and we had like they had like a whole like kind of party outside.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and it was like so cool. But yeah, it was also great to go home back to Chicago. I'm like, I liked it all.
The whole tour was great.
Yeah.
but just connecting with folks, because you don't have a restaurant, right?
Right.
You don't have a place to hang out with
people. That is what I miss. Exactly. So that it filled a little bit of that, like missing like the human connection that I feel like I used to have much more when I worked in restaurants, like talking with people that ate and stuff.
Yeah.
And we did some like restaurant pop-ups, which was also very fulfilling.
Yeah, you get to actually get work the line a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really work. I will be honest, but I prepped.
I know. I've done plenty of those with my books, and it puts the chef in an awkward, interesting spot because you're not really running service, but it's your stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But we had like a whole prep day. Have you been to La Cita in LA?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's so good. You got it. Yeah.
I don't know it.
It's Filipino.
Yeah.
You got to go. But they're like the best crew. Like we had a whole prep day the first day. It was just so fun, like to be back in that environment of like, when you work in a restaurant, it's like the camaraderie.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and it was just like, I really missed that. And they're just like all so sweet. So that was actually another really big highlight of the
LA
tour.
spot.
Yeah.
So you write in the book that the pandemic happens when you and Chuck were possibly thinking about opening a restaurant. Is that something that you are still considering? Yeah,
I would still love. Well, my whole goal, I guess I forgot to mention that too. Like when I first started my TikTok too, I was like, if I start this videos, maybe I can like manifest having this small cafe that Chuck and I want. That's why my name was Cafe Hailee for some time.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, you're manifesting it. You're like, this version of me online is going to become this cafe.
Yes. Like a small, like very like, just a small place that did some little seasonal foods.
Sounds like the Chicago place.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that was such a formative place. And then I would still love to do that. I just feel like it's maybe more of like a 10-year plan now.
Yeah.
Which would be great. I would love to transition into that. Yeah. Maybe in a 10-year type span or 5, depending on.
So smart.
Yeah, I would love to do that. And,
I mean, not doing it now.
Yeah.
Respect to my folks in the industry.
It's very hard.
It's hard, and to realize it's not something you can just turn on overnight.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like I want to, when I feel like very, like I really want to do this now. It has to be like a really perfect time to do it. Because it's so hard. It's like your whole life. Obviously, it becomes your whole life.
Completely.
Yeah. But maybe one day. For now, pop-ups.
Pop-ups, more books, video, living life, travel.
Yes.
Not working, not baking the bread at 6 a.m., 4 a.m.
Yeah. Just making the bread at home.
Yeah. Well, I got a bunch of questions about the book recipes because many of them speak to me. I love the way they're written. And one is this maple cheddar snack mix.
Oh, yes.
Love that combination. Tell me about what inspired it. Very cool recipe.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to make something that's kind of like Garrett's. You have had Garrett's in Chicago?
Of course. Shouts to Garrett's.
Garrett's.
Legend in Chicago. Yeah.
So good. So good. And they do the Chicago mix is cheddar and like a caramel corn.
Yeah.
And then I was like, how could I make this into like a fun snack mix? And I was like, I don't really want to make like a whole caramel because like caramel corn is kind of hard to make, especially at home.
Especially if it's a component in a thing.
In a bigger
other
thing.
Things. Yeah.
I was like, what will caramelize without having to make like the caramel and then tossing everything in it? And I was like, maple, because maple caramelizes quite well in the oven when you roast it. So I was like, or put it in the oven.
Yeah.
So I was like, maple cheddar is going to be delish. And it has the caramely notes. Cheddar. Maple has a caramely
Yeah.
flavor. So I'm like, and it came out good.
It looks like a great, and it's pretty quick too.
Yes,
so
it's
nice.
quick. And then even if I put cheese powder on the end to get the cheesiness, of course, but also I've noticed, and Rebecca Ferkser, shout out, she tested the recipe. She made it with nutritional yeast on the outside.
Yeah.
Same effect as the cheesy powder. So
shout out to Rebecca Ferkser.
yes, love
Guest
her.
on the show, definitely.
Oh yes, she's the best.
Yeah, love her books, and it's cool that you worked with her and
Yes,
testing.
she tested all the recipes for my book. I was like, that is like so much respect for so many recipes to do in it, like, not that long of a time.
To dial them all in that way.
Yeah.
So how did New Jersey, the fine state, inspire your love of antipasto and this recipe?
Yeah. Growing up, we didn't eat a lot of like antipasto salads like that with like all the meats and stuff in it. I don't know. It just wasn't something we ate. But New Jersey, when I went to New Jersey, the pizzerias, they all have antipasto salads. So I was like, when I noticed that was a trend on menus, I was like, I want to get one at every one we go to because I want to know like what people are doing with their antipasto salads. And it became a fun thing to try. And then I was like, these are so great. A lot of them are so simple and like, I feel like there's probably just vinegar put on it.
Yeah.
Like it's not tossed or anything. It's just like vinegar and then oil on top. And it's simplicity is nice. That's also what taught me, like not all salads are good when you toss them. Like when you go to like culinary school, they'll teach you like you have to dress the salad in this sort of way. But actually, I feel like a lot of salads are better if you just kind of like lay them out more flat and then you don't toss it at all. Because it's like sometimes you wilt things when you toss it. And then you just put the dressing over the top of the whole platter and it kind of seeps down and it's like evenly dressed without having it be so mushy, if you know what I'm saying.
It's a great tip. I think we are so married to the bowl for salads. But
I think
use
it's such a bad
plate.
thing. Yeah. Not in every case, but in most salads, I feel like it should just be on a platter. Platter salads.
Yeah, because also serving it too.
Yes, so much.
Especially if it's going to be presented at the center of the table like a bowl would.
It's so hard. And then with the platter, you get all the toppings across the whole thing. Nothing sinking to the bottom. So that's why I played it on a platter.
Yeah, good tip. Okay, your mashed potato recipe is very interesting.
Thank you.
You add chicken fat to it, which I think is something that I've never really thought about. I've only thought about either olive oil or butter, but to use schmaltz in it is very cool.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I got that idea from, I was like, I want to just put something crispy on top of mashed potatoes. And I was like, oh, chicken skins would be good as a thing on top of mashed potatoes. And then I was like, oh, but that would be perfect to put the chicken fat obviously in the potatoes because you got to render the skins. You already have the fat. You put that in there. And then you got these lovely schmaltzy mashed potatoes with a little crunchy top all in one. And I think it's fun. And it's like a nice, I don't know, like if you're having something more vegetably on the side, then you have like mashed potatoes that are like meaty, which I feel like is cool because usually it's like the opposite.
Usually just a side.
Yeah.
And this is like more of a significant side.
Yes.
And I could think about like holiday time, Thanksgiving, etc.
Good for the holidays.
Yeah.
Yes.
How you getting the chicken skin and then rendering the fat? Is there like a tip there?
Well, I put a little water at first in a cold pan. I usually say to use like this is my only time to maybe use a nonstick.
Yeah.
Because it can get stuck. So a little water, the chicken skin, cold pan, turn it on, and then you just let it slowly render. The water evaporates, but all the fat comes out. Yeah. And then you have all the clear fat, no water left, and crispy skin. And
you can use the crispy skin on the top.
Yes.
Use the schmaltz in the potato blend.
Yes.
Brilliant. Love that tip.
Thank you.
That's great. Well, you're obviously a bread head. I mean, this bread section is very cool.
Thank you.
And what new ideas are you bringing to bread baking with this book?
Yeah, I included a sourdough crash course type thing, just because I wanted it to be like, again, kind of like teaching people how to make just a basic sourdough loaf without it maybe being too terribly intimidating. Because I feel like sometimes sourdough comes off really scary because it is kind of hard, and it is a recipe that is definite, or a method. I wouldn't say it's a recipe.
Method, yeah.
That it's like it does take trial and error, and I feel like we just need to tell people that it's not going to work maybe like on your first one because you have to like get used to it, like working with dough, time, temperature, but it's not that you failed at it. It's just that you're actually not failing. Even if it comes out bad, it's like, this is part of the learning process.
Permission to fail.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like and it's like such a fun way to learn it at home instead of like when we were learning it in a restaurant. It's like if you mess up 12 loaves of bread, it's like really scary.
You're behind. Yeah. The day is not going to be so great.
Yeah. But like if you're at home, it's like you could still use that bread as croutons. You could dry it out. It's not like detrimental. Sourdough doesn't have to be scary. And that's why I wanted to put like a crash course vibe in there. And people have been making bread and it's been coming out good. I've been seeing the pictures.
So you've been seeing people cooking from the book.
Yes. That's also very fulfilling. I'm like, yay.
Yeah, people are actually cooking from it, which I obviously was going to happen with your following and just in general, the great book.
No, thank you. But you never know.
What's the big hit right now? What are people making a lot of?
A lot of the roasted strawberry rhubarb sundae with pepita sesame crunch.
Wow.
Because rhubarb's in season.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And that's a simple recipe, too. And it's a nice dessert, like feels kind of fancy or whatnot, but very simple. Also, you can prep it ahead, which is nice.
So where is your audience? I mean, do you have an area that you feel there's a concentration? Can you figure that out? I'm really curious.
According to like the book tour, I feel like San Francisco might be my biggest.
Yeah.
Because that was where the most people came.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe San Francisco, which I would never have guessed. Actually, when we went to the pop-up, we were heading over to the pop-up in San Francisco, we did this pizza pop-up. I was like, Chuck, I don't know if anyone's going to come. Because that was like my first, like, doing a pop-up like on the West Coast type thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if anyone's going to come. Like, it wasn't a ticketed thing, so it's like you have no idea. But a lot of people came to that. So I'm like, oh, maybe I do have a following in San Francisco. So maybe San Francisco. I think also New York. And I think Chicago. I think that's what I'm seeing. Yeah. Probably those three.
Those three. So all over the country. Really interesting.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's probably audiences everywhere.
Yeah, I think everywhere. Oh, a lot of New Jersey. Yeah.
Yeah, represent, of
Yes.
course. Well, I love the recipe for the mousse pie.
Oh yes.
It's Chuck's birthday
pie. Yes.
And please, that's my birthday pie because that's absolutely in my wheelhouse. And I love that you shout out Baker Square.
Yes, you know Baker Square.
I do. Growing up with family in Chicago, of course, I went to Baker Square.
Yeah, the best. I remember. I honestly, what's so funny about it, I don't remember like the savory food that they had there, but I knew you would get your meal and you always got a slice of pie at the end.
I know. Isn't that the best part?
That was the best part. That's all I remember. Do you remember what kind of like savory food that maybe it was just like diner vibes?
I felt like it was definitely an elevated Denny's.
Okay, yes. That's what I'm remembering too.
Like club sandwiches, you could definitely get some burgers.
Yes.
Like the salads. I mean, it's kind of like a proto like TGI Fridays even, maybe a little bit of but it felt very Midwestern and like there were so many restaurants like that growing up that were like just American food restaurants.
Yeah, it was very much American food. But yeah, that was my favorite part was getting the pie, and I always got the French silk pie.
Yes.
Which I thought everyone like knew about, but not once I moved out of Chicago. Like Chuck did, and I was like, oh, I'm really craving a French silk pie. He's like, I don't know what that is. I was like, let me make it for you. And then that became his favorite pie, and hence his favorite birthday pie.
Take us through it. What's in it?
Well, the one at Baker Square is like a more of a butter crust, like a traditional pie crust. Then it's like chocolate mousse and whipped cream and usually like shaved chocolate on the top.
Mm-hmm.
But for the one in the book, I did a press-in like cookie crumble type crust just for ease. And actually I love like a crumbly crust sometimes more than like a flaky crust, like a graham cracker. Those kind of crusts, those press-in crusts.
Completely. Especially when we were working with chocolate.
Yes.
We were working with lime.
Yes, exactly. Those like creamy fillings.
Creamy fillings, yeah.
Yeah, so I did that. And then I made a chocolate mousse, but then I infused it with a little bit of Earl Grey for a little bit of a tea. Lovely
cool.
taste.
I like that spin.
Yes. I love chocolate and like bergamot. So that flavor is really nice. And then have a little honey whipped cream on top to go with the tea vibes.
What a pie.
What a pie. I love that.
I'm going to make that one.
Yes.
I have your book now.
Oh, yay. You got to let me know how
so
it goes.
You live in the Jersey Shore. I have to like shout it out. I love.
Shout out.
My sister-in-law runs a fantastic restaurant called Franny's.
Yes.
In like the northern part of the Jersey Shore.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Jersey Shore doesn't get enough respect for its food. In Asbury, that area has some great restaurants. This is the section of the interview to shout out the Jersey Shore.
Okay. Yeah. Growing up in Chicago, I never was like, let me live in New Jersey. Like I never thought I was going to live in New Jersey, or like the only thing I knew about the Jersey Shore especially is like the show.
MTV.
Yeah. So I'm like never pictured myself.
Seaside
living
Heights,
here. Yes.
The Grind.
Yeah.
That dates me a little bit. I'm a little bit older. And
No.
that's what I'm thinking. Like
Yes,
The Grind is
exactly.
filmed at
Yes.
Jersey.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. But yeah, so I never thought I would live there or like enjoy living there. But I really feel like it's really such a lovely place. Like you can obviously go to the beach. There's so many nice places other than like Seaside Heights is nice in its own right. It's a different vibe.
Definitely. It's a nice place.
Yeah. But it's like, there's so many calm, like not party, like beach towns on the Jersey Shore. You can get back to the city very easily.
Yep.
Also, a lot of farms. Like New Jersey has everything. Beach, farm, can get to the city, pizza. It's good.
You just said it all. The farming in New Jersey is some of the country's best, hands down.
Right?
Absolutely agree.
Yep. And so I feel like a lot of people don't think it's the Garden State.
There you go.
They say that. So yeah, I really enjoy living in New Jersey. Always there's always. Have you ever been to Grand Tavern?
No, I haven't.
That's a really good restaurant in Neptune, actually.
In Neptune.
Yes, they make a really, really good burger. It's like American food. Best burger and martini on the Jersey Shore. So
I love that.
Grand Tavern.
I mean, I know the Pinball Museum at Asbury.
Oh, that's so fun.
I go a lot.
It's so fun. And there's a lot of skee ball in there, too.
A lot of skee ball,
Yes.
a lot of pinball. It's a great stop.
Yes. I hadn't gone until like last year because I just never thought to go in. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm coming here every day.
Really, really fun spot to catch up
is.
on those vintage machines.
It is fun.
I love this conversation, and we're going to be live at the Bell House on July 23rd.
Yes, that's coming up.
I can't wait.
It's going to be
You,
great.
Chuck, me on the stage.
Yes. Chatting it up.
Chatting it up. I had to plug that. Tickets are on sale.
Yes.
Hailee, on This Is Taste, we ask guests about their discerning taste. So to close this interview, here's a little rapid fire, fast and furious taste check. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Oh, dear.
The best fruit.
Mango.
Yes.
I love a mango.
The worst vegetable.
Brussels sprouts.
Why? Oh, no.
I cannot do a Brussels sprout anymore. After frying so many Brussels sprouts, like working in
a tall
restaurants.
day, yeah.
Every restaurant I've ever worked in, there's always fried Brussels sprouts. And the smell of a fryer with the Brussels sprouts will really never make you want a Brussels sprout again.
What is it about the fried Brussels sprouts that works so well on a restaurant menu?
Everyone gets them. Yeah, everyone gets them. People love them. I used to love them until I had to make them so much.
Yeah.
I think I don't know what it is. Usually it has some sort of sweet sauce or something.
Yeah.
I think it's the sauce. It's a good vessel for sauce because all the nooks and crannies.
What is your typical breakfast?
Usually it's just some sort of version of 2 over medium eggs. I like an over medium. Do you like over medium?
I like an over medium for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I like over
Over
medium.
easy can be a little bit hard to negotiate.
Yeah, I agree. I know over medium's so particular, but it is good. And then lately I've been having it with some smoked trout and kimchi, which I know sounds wild, but it's a good combo. That's
Love
my
that
latest
breakfast.
one.
What is the best dessert?
Best dessert? Oh, tiramisu.
Nice.
Yeah, I love a tiramisu, which I wish I had one in my cookbook. I'm like, why did I forget that?
There will be more books, I imagine. A restaurant you wish you could bring back from the dead?
Bar Marta in Chicago. It was, do you know Hog Salt, the restaurant?
Yeah.
It was someone that used to work in that group and they
Yeah.
opened a restaurant. Very delicious place. Chuck used to work there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that connection too. When you're craving fast food, where are you going?
Culver's.
Yeah.
I wish there was Culver's here because other than that, I don't know. Oh, Popeyes.
Yeah, those are
Popeyes.
great choices.
Yeah.
Those are absolutely wonderful choices. I fully stand behind both of them.
Thank you.
Great stuff there. Couple more. Favorite city outside America to visit for food?
Melbourne. Yes, I would love to go back there and
Yeah.
eat more. I went there that's when we took our little brief
Yeah.
vacation or thing.
Research trip?
Yeah. I forgot what year. I don't know. Yeah, when I went there, but it was very cool. I want to go there again. I forgot what year.
Last one, your favorite sandwich?
Honestly, it's just like a turkey provolone, like classic deli,
Yeah.
iceberg, tomato, onion, oil, vinegar, oregano.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oil, vinegar, no mayonnaise.
No, I'm not a mayo on that kind of sandwich
Yeah.
person, but I know people are, and that's fine.
People are.
That's
but
fine.
No, I love that choice.
Yes.
Hailee, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for joining This Is Taste.
Thanks for having me. This was great.
David Nayfeld, welcome to This Is Taste. It's really great to meet you.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me here.
I'm excited for this conversation. I went to Kefico in, I think, February. I talked about it on 3 things. Such a highlight of my great San Francisco trip. San Francisco is on fire right now.
It really is. I feel like as a city, we're having a major glow up. We
Yeah.
have an incredible new mayor in Daniel Lurie. We've got a lot of new things happening. The city has gotten cleaned up. It's really in a growth phase right now. I think a lot of companies are coming back to the office, which is super important for restaurants, right? And I think San Francisco is just having a moment. It's a vibe.
I agree fully. I'm going to link to that episode in the show notes, and we'll talk about your work with the Independent Restaurant Coalition, which you co-founded. Really important topics. This is going to be a great conversation because we got a lot to cover. So we're not going to go back to 13, but we're going to go back to 19.
Sure.
You walk into the kitchen at Nobu in Tribeca.
Wild.
I mean, wild. I read that and I was like, we got to talk about it. What's it like just walking into this kitchen and really being super young, but clearly ambitious?
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to give so much praise to Nobu Matsuhisa, who, is a global brand. A lot of people don't recognize this, but when I was 19, this is 22 years ago or whatever it is, you didn't go to your local sushi restaurant and get hamachi with jalapeno and ponzu.
Mm-mm.
You didn't. But today, good luck going to a Japanese restaurant anywhere in the world and not getting that.
Yeah.
That is something he brought to the spotlight.
Same with miso cod.
Miso cod, all of these tempura, popcorn shrimp, all of these different things that now are ubiquitous did not exist. And so his unique background of being Japanese, spending time in Peru, marrying those cultures, bringing them first to LA, right? Because that's where his first restaurant, Matsuhisa, was, and then to Nobu and Tribeca. It was truly a mind-blowing experience to taste those foods. And I remember walking into that restaurant and just being enamored with flavor. The flavors were out of this world, textures that just crunch and pops and acid and sweetness and fattiness and umami.
And all with Japan as the root, which is not what diners were seeing, as you noted. I mean, you've got a fish program that's traditional, but you've got texture and acid and jalapenos, for God's sake.
Right. Well, and so you take that element and that kind of depth touch in terms of flavor, and you marry that into a Drew Nieprint restaurant, right? So it's fun. It's exciting. It's the who's who. The service is great. It's a vibe. And then all of a sudden, you're in the kitchen. You're tucked away in this little kind of corner because it's a New York kitchen, really small. And these badass motherfuckers.
We can go there.
We can go there, thank God, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah. A judicious use of the motherfucker.
I really wanted to send it.
You sent it, yeah.
So here's the thing, right? You had these cooks there, and today I think an underappreciated station is the fry station. And when I tell you there was a fry station at a restaurant like that, there was, 2 to 3 fryers, right? You had everything was lined around the fryer so none of the tempura batter got anywhere. And the tempura batters would be getting exchanged every hour so that way they were cold and perfectly frizzant and bubbly.
That's expensive.
That's expensive and crazy. And so just something like that. And then imagine this. You're there, you're tucked away in a corner, you're trying to keep up with I wasn't even a fry cook, right? I was the assistant to the fry cook, switching out batters and things like that. And if I was lucky, I'd get to clean the fryer with a spider. And then all of a sudden you get a pat on the back and you're like, hey guys, how's it going today? And you turn around and it's Bobby De Niro. That's what being in that kitchen was like.
That's crazy. I love that story. So you're at EMP, you end up working with Joel Robuchon. And you open in Las Vegas. And I was just at a chef conference last week, and Eric Ripert was having a conversation, and he literally said on stage that he still has nightmares about Joel. Like today, the man is passed years ago. He still has nightmares like Derek Ripert. You worked intimately with this chef, and I'm sure you have many thoughts and emotions about working there. But I have to ask about just opening in Vegas with Robuchon, what that's like.
Being 25 in Las Vegas was an incredible experience.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things that I got to see. And look, the thing about that restaurant, which will never be ever again, right? At least for me in my career, is money didn't exist. The concept of money didn't exist. I remember them bringing in what could have easily been $10,000 of Kobe flat iron beef and Perigord black truffles to work on a dish. So what they were doing is they were studding the inside of the flat iron Kobe beef with black truffles all the way through, and then to cook it sous vide. And they must have tried 15, 20 different temps and everything like that to ultimately present to Mr. Robuchon, and for him not to like it. And basically the rule was like Robuchon didn't want to see anything. There was nothing that should be on the counter. So when he walked into the kitchen, nothing could be on the counter. When I say nothing could be on the counter, Matt, salt can't be on the counter. Oil can't be on the counter. Any of your cooking tools, they all had to be hidden. Everything. When he walked into the kitchen, he wanted to see pristine perfection.
Yeah.
And so when you worked in that restaurant, there was a lot of things to you that seemed frivolous. We made jokes about like, oh yeah, like what does he think we don't cook with salt or oil or something like that? But what you took away from that experience is you took away what the mentality was. And the mentality was whatever it looks and feels like ultimately will be what it is, right? And so if I send everyone in this room on a mission for perfection, what we will achieve will be that much closer to perfection. Whereas if we start from a place that is a couple steps, hey, I accept this, I accept this, I accept that. Well, then what you will ultimately get is a few steps back from perfection. And that's the thing that I took away from that. And look, the nightmares and all of that stuff, it was a different time, right? As I like to say, it was the 90s. Right?
Yeah.
Like when I grew up, people are like, your parents let you do that? Well, it was the 90s.
The 90s, yeah.
So look, when we think about restaurants like that, hey, it was the 90s. And when Eric Rupert worked at Les Germains in Paris, well, it was the 80s.
Yeah.
So, you add to the 90s plus some cocaine.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly a point taken about that. And like, it was an era when you pay dues and you clearly strove for perfection. And I think about the eel dish out of Robuchon. Tell me about your experience, the eel foie gras dish.
Such a phenomenal blend of flavors and textures, right? But like there were so many different elements in that restaurant and that Mr. Robuchon had in the repertoire, right? Like everything from the tomato gelée dish with the 1,000 dots of basil and tomato, which the funny thing is, I was thinking about this earlier and I started thinking about some of the elements in that restaurant, and a lot of people don't realize that probably the most important thing to Mr. Robuchon above anything and the way he viewed the kind of pursuit of perfection is consistency. So a lot of people didn't realize that the tomato dots there, the main component, the main ingredient in that component was Heinz ketchup. Because what more consistent ingredient could you get in the world than Heinz ketchup? He wanted every dot to taste the same. The potatoes for the most famed potato dish in the world, right, came cooked in a bag. They came cooked in a bag. Now, people might be like, oh, so you didn't actually have to cook them. No, I'm telling you, to take those cooked potatoes and then to do a 2-to-1 ratio of butter to potatoes, to whip those things into submission, into fluffy delight, right? It was a talent. It was a technique. And I can't tell you how many times I broke that potato dish, which is funny, right? Because I wrote a cookbook called Dad, What's for Dinner, and you go to the mashed potato recipe. It could not be further from that, right?
You're not doing 50-50?
No, dude. I gotta live, man. I have a cardiologist listening to this.
I mean, 50-50 is how I go at Thanksgiving, but you have to put a little note by it if it's a buffet style and say like, just go light on the
So
potatoes.
It's funny, right? Like I, as a chef, and I was talking to my brother about this yesterday. I was talking about like that phase of being a chef where you just know enough to be dangerous. So you know what you know, right? Like, and so you in your mind, you're like, everything is Robuchon style potatoes, Robuchon style potatoes. But as you get older, you start to think about things on your own and you start to have an independent thought process. So when you look at the cookbook and the mashed potato recipe in the cookbook, Most chefs will look at that and be like, this is so strange. This is the antithesis of a chefy mashed potato recipe because, first of all, I go back to using russet potatoes. Why do I use russet potatoes? Because russet potatoes will yield you the fluffiest, not the most luxurious, not the densest, not the most creamy, but the fluffiest mashed potato. And so when I'm eating something like meatloaf, like the recipe for meatloaf in the cookbook, and I make mashed potatoes, I want a fluffy, light mashed potato. So I'm not putting 1,000 grams to 500 grams of butter to potato, but I'm putting a few nubs in there, and I really like it to be fluffy and airy. So it's funny, like as you go through your, career, you work for Joel Robuchon, you work for EMP, you work for all these different places, and then eventually you kind of free yourself from the shackles of everything you learned because now you don't know just enough to be dangerous. You know enough to be independent and think on your own.
Yeah. I think we have to talk about Che Fico's menu because it's really interesting. It speaks to me. I think you really make a commitment to honor Jewish, Italian, Jewish, Roman cooking. And I love the menu. You have Star of David next to Jewish dishes on your menu. And I really appreciate that you're highlighting this cuisine, that there's been some terrific books written about it recently, and it's starting to get more attention. But for our listeners who maybe don't know about this tradition in Rome, tell us a little bit about it.
So first of all, I want to shout out someone who probably a lot of people have not heard of, but should. Joyce Goldstein. So when you talk about books that have been written recently, right, you cannot forget that there is a whole plethora of incredible writers who were writing about cucina ebraica and, cucina povera and the Jewish cuisine of Italy and the diaspora, 20 plus years ago, right? And so when I started my research for, doing the menu at Che Fico, I derived a lot of inspiration from those books and those recipes. Obviously, I was traveling to Italy 3 to 4 times a year. I was trying to soak up as much time as I could. But for me, what I really wanted to do was I wanted to tie an element of my identity to the restaurant, right? Like, I love Italian food. I'm not Italian. I love making pasta. I went there. I spent so much time learning, but I never had a nonna that I learned to cook from. So for me, what was important was to tie my own identity to this. The other thing that was really important for me is to show on the menu the pride of Judaism, right? And the fact that Judaism is one of those things that it's like a lot of people, they have a sense that Judaism is a religion. It is an ethnicity as well as a religion, right? A lot of people, like me, frankly, are not incredibly religious, but their ethnicity, right, is very important to them. And to be able to bring that to the forefront and have people understand how we weave ourselves into a culture even 2,000 years ago and how that's come out and become a part of everyday culture with the supli al telefono or the carciofi alla giudia or the different dishes like that, right? To me is a huge sense of pride.
Yeah, and you're articulating them brilliantly on the menu at Che Fico. When you're researching it early on, I want to go back to the author you mentioned because I think that's cool. What are the first few dishes that you're doing? Like, what are you really trying to specialize and really bring to the restaurant?
Yeah, so I remember, a lot of when I was reading Joyce Goldstein's book, a lot of it was about tertiary cuts. A lot of it was about vegetables that were challenging to work with, right? And so one of the interesting things is like you think of a vegetable like artichoke today, right? And it's such a luxury vegetable. Well, if you were a Roman person of nobility, you're not dealing with that. You're not peeling that shit and dealing with the spiky stuff. No, that was for the peasants to deal with something. The nobility wants soft things, easy to eat things, right? Let the peasants have the thing but today, right, coaxing an artichoke into the most perfect, acidulated, soft, slightly kind of, fennel flavored, beautiful ingredient. It's like one of the most fantastic things that I wait for every single year. The other thing are the tertiary cuts, right? The scarti dei mercati, which is like the waste of the market, the trash of the market. Back then, the Jews were only allowed to buy things that the Romans didn't want, right? So they got the scarti dei mercati, right? Like the offcuts, right? So you got offals, you got different elements like that. And then also the other thing is that Jews were only allowed to have certain jobs like shmata, being in the shmata business. So you could sell like cloth, right? You could loan money. So you could, different things like that. So for me, learning about those things within, whether it's books or going to the Roman Jewish ghetto and to learn about the history, all of those things are ways that I weave in dishes into our book, right? Into our
restaurant,
into the Que Fico's menu. And Que Fico's menu to me, a lot of it is about taking California and the Bay Area specifically and ideating what the cuisine of Italy would be like if the Bay Area were a region there.
Very cool to articulate that way. Very, very cool because it's hard to do.
It is
really hard to do.
Well, and
they're very different climate-wise.
Well, they're very different, right? But you do have certain similarities, right? You have a coastal area, but you also have mountains. You have both dairy and you have olive oil. You have, so you have fish. You have animal husbandry, like in some of the most incredible animal husbandry practices around in terms of the agriculture. We have incredible, there was a time, so you talked about our salumeria, our charcuterie program. There was a time in our salumeria, which is one of the only state-certified salumerias in the state of California.
You're not doing it like after hours and hiding it in your walk-in.
No, totally. This is in the dining room.
Yeah, I love
when you walk into our dining room at Que Fico, you see an entire salumeria on...
It's not done, David. It just isn't done.
Well, it isn't done also because that room could have been 3 more 4 tops, right? Yeah. So you think about that. So the investment of that. So there was a time where we had 8 breeds of hog. I want you to hear that. 8 different breeds of hog, which we were making different things out of in that salumeria. So when you talk about paying homage to a place, you have to do so with the things you have kind of near you, right? And if you have those type of ingredients at your fingertips, why not utilize those things in the best way that you can?
Let's talk about the book, Dad, What's for Dinner? I think you see these books come and go, these cooking for family and, various results. Mileage may vary. But I think what you've done here is really special because you're speaking to your daughter in the book and you're talking about her needs and the needs of somebody who's young but you're using obviously your intellect and your interest in foodways. But still, with all that said, it's hard to do because to say this is a book for children and for kids, but also interesting for adults. It's just not done. And I want to first ask you, just in general, when you started writing this idea out as a proposal, what did you want to do and what didn't you want to do?
I want to push back on one thing. The book is not for kids.
Okay.
The book is meant to bring families together.
Okay.
It's meant to bring people together. It's a book about connecting. And so for me, I felt like so much of my journey as a dad has been, how do I connect with my daughter, right? I'm not good at arts and crafts. My schedule is all over the place. I am not your typical incredible archetype of a dad or a mom or a parent. What I do know how to do is I know food. I know food intrinsically. I know it in my fibers of my fingers, right? People ask me about touching meat and knowing when it's done, putting your finger in a boiling pot of water to taste it and taste if it's salty enough. All of those things in the most visceral way possible. That is my love language. I want to see people smile through creating food for them. Now, for my daughter, I desperately wanted to be an incredible dad. That's all I wanted to be. I wanted to be an incredible dad more than I wanted to be a great chef. And when I realized that was when I realized that was like truly what my identity was. My identity was being a dad before anything else. And so when I was writing the book, I went through different seasons of my life. At first, I started in the pandemic, which nobody ever wants to talk about again, thank God. I was basically learning the fact that everybody was having a hard time in the kitchen and getting food on the table. Everybody was at home and now you had all these meals you needed to get on the table. Okay, so that's where it started. Then I was going through this really challenging custody battle. And I would not have a single overnight with my daughter. I'd have to drive 1 hour to go see my daughter, and I would only get 2 hours with her. And then I'd have to drop her off, and then I'd have to drive an hour back. And I had to feed her dinner in that time. And this was like a test that they give you because you need to prove that you are worthy of being your child's parent. And so, and it wasn't, and it was one of the most humiliating things I'd ever gone through, because for me, I thought it was inherent. Like, this is my child. I should have the same right to her as her mother does. But that's not the way it was. And so to me, it became a test of how much conviction do you have in being the father that you say you're going to be. And so for me, I would spend hours boiling a soup, getting everything ready, making a ragu, a pasta, whatever, and packaging it for her. And I only got one shot at it. There was no, hey, you don't like this?
Yeah.
I'll make you something else. I would drive an hour to see her. I'd pick her up from preschool, and we'd go play at a park. We'd play for 30 minutes. Then I'd put her in the back of the pickup truck, and I'd feed her dinner. People would be walking by me, looking at me like, why are you feeding your child in the back of a pickup truck? And, and that was just my life during that time. And to me, it was so important to nail it. I wanted to nail it. And so I remember those moments where I would watch my daughter eat something out of a thermos, like a soup that she loved. The ones that like really stick out to me are the Jewish mother's chicken soup, as well as the sausage kale Tuscan soup that both recipes are in the book. And I remember how much she loved it. And I remember being proud of myself because she was eating protein and vegetables and all of those things. As a parent, when you watch your child consume, it's this strange thing. Like, it's almost like you're looking at them and you're watching them charge up. Like, you're like, I've done my job as a parent because the thing that's inside my child is nourishing them right now. So then the next season of my life happens, and I finally get an overnight with my daughter. And she's in the other room, and I'm preparing dinner. And for me, like, everything is about, like, you want to be perfect. You want to nail it, right? And, kind of news flash to everybody out there, there is no fucking perfect. You fuck everything up all the time. As a chef, I mess everything up all the time. There's a story in the, remind me to tell you the story about the pancakes in the book, but I'll just finish this little quick anecdote is, the first night that I have her, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I only get her for one night. I'm going to spend time in the kitchen cooking. I'm also not going to order Domino's for my kid. How do we connect? She comes in the kitchen. And together, we started making every single thing together. She'd cut the vegetables with her little plastic knife. And, at first, as a chef, you're looking at the knife cuts and everything's just getting mangled.
It's driving you a little crazy.
Yeah, it's tough.
driving you a little crazy.
But that's also a lesson to be learned, which is like, who cares? Who cares?
Right.
What are you trying to get out of this? Dinner? Yes, done. Time spent together. Connectivity. You and the being that came from you are together, and you are making life's memories together. And though that is truly what this book is about, I want to give you license to bring your family together, to spend that time together. And so in the cookbook, am I trying to give you the most esoteric recipes? No. I'm giving you the best fucking meatloaf you've ever had in your life. I'm giving you some tips on how to make great, simple things like soups and brownies and stuff for the bake sale. And as my daughter likes to call them, cuppy cakes. I got to tell you the story about the pancakes.
Yeah. I was going to ask.
So there's 2 different pancakes in the recipe in the book, and people might ask why. And it's because I have this very chefy version of a pancake, which we call the lazy weekend pancake, right? And it's involved, and you're frothing.
How many grains are on it? In it?
No, it's a whole wheat pancake, yes, but it's about like you're frothing the egg whites, and you're adding vinegar to impact the pH balance and everything like that. Completely impractical for your everyday parent, right? And so that recipe is so good, it makes the best pancake I've ever had. But when I met my fiance Vanessa, she had this hack for making quick pancakes. She would take like the Bob's Red Mill pancake mix, and then she would chef it up herself. She would put some vanilla bean in there and some cinnamon powder and some this and some that.
Into it.
Things that were not in the, and then she would also crush up a banana and fold it in.
That's a great mix, by the way. I like Bob's.
It was incredible. And so it was a way, to get, a little bit more nutrition in there, a little more flavor and everything like that. It took 5 minutes before you were cooking your first pancake. And then so for me, then I was like, okay, well, I wonder, can we do a little bit more? Can we add a little protein powder to this mix and different things like that? And so what I learned was, hey, also remember that this book is for the practical parent also trying to, look, breakfast is the hardest meal of the day in our house, right? My daughter is abstinent. Breakfast is just not her meal. No. She doesn't want it. And so for me, I end up just forcing her. I'm like, you're eating something before you leave this house. So we can do it.
Is Go-Gurt cutting it?
No way, man. Are you kidding me? Dude, she might
I didn't think so.
I can make her something like a omelet with the crispiest, most beautiful bacon and fold it in with cheddar cheese, and the omelet is so perfect. She'll have it one day and it will be the best thing of her life. And she's like, Daddy, I love this. This was so scrumptious and yummy, yum, 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 yum. The next day she looks at me like I've got 6 heads because I made her the same thing. She's like, but omelet, I don't like omelets. I'm like, are you fucking with me right now? And so kids, look, first of all, they're terrorists.
Rings very it rings very true to my
But you can't negotiate with terrorists is the most important thing, right? What's on the table is on the table.
It's great. Well, I want to ask you about Joshua Davis Stein and working with him. I had him in about a year ago, and the guy's working on 6-7 books, lots of great books. I love his work, and he's been on many times. He brought up your book. I mean, he just was like, you got David Nayfield's book. It is so good. He just loves working with you. I'm speaking for him, but he said this. And I have to admire his love of a collaboration, because I think that they're very challenging many times. And I have to recognize that he's one of our best collaborators. What's it like working with Joshua on this?
Joshua was a very specific person that I wanted for the book. He's a dad. He's a single dad. He's adjacent to our industry, right? He understands the mentality. I didn't even know how many parallels we had, right? Both of our kids are half Brazilian. We, I wouldn't be speaking out of school because we've talked about this publicly on my podcast before, but we both have had troubling challenges with co-parenting. Mm-hmm. We both do Brazilian jiu-jitsu. We both have an element to us of conflict in our personalities of we're constantly in conflict with this idea of, the kind of whatever you want to call it, whether it's the warrior and the gardener, whatever that kind of manifestation is of the person who wants to roar and battle, and then the person who wants to be the more kind of philosophical, kind of intellectual person, right? And there is that battle, there's that constant tension and friction. And so I chose Joshua, and I was really grateful that he decided to do the book with me, because what we ended up making together was something that I really felt resonated because he got it. Mm-hmm. He would be in car rides with me, and I'm telling you this, and look, I'm kind of telling you very personal information here, right? We'd be in the car, and I remember my daughter would say something, and for purposes of legal purposes, I don't want to say something that would be kind of impact my court case, but my daughter would say something to me that her mom would say. And I'd look over at him, I'm like, did she just say that out loud? And he would look at me and he's like, dude, that is wild, because I remember going through the same exact thing of feeling like you were being alienated as a parent. And the truth is what are we all trying to do? We're just trying to raise our kids in this way where we negatively impact them as little as possible.
Yeah.
We arm them with as many tools and traits as we can, but we harm them as little as possible. And look, every kid is going to have some harm that you accidentally, and good. It gives you something to tell your therapist when you grow up, right? No one's ever going to have anything to write a book about if they didn't go through something. But I remember sitting there and just thinking, thank God there's someone here, because I don't know that someone would believe me that this is being said if somebody wasn't here. And I'm so grateful to Joshua for being there, because it was a really challenging moment in my life, right? Like, it was a challenging moment. And this book, Dad, What's for Dinner, even in the title, it was not an accident. That title to me meant everything, right? Because a lot of people might ask, well, why call it Dad, What's for Dinner? Why not be more kind of inclusive or whatever? It's like, well, because in my house, it was Dad, What's for Dinner?
Yeah, it's the
like that was the only choice.
Yeah, it's your story. I mean, this is why it's a unique project, and really, again, these books come and go. Cooking with children, cooking for children, and putting a lot of your own story into it is absolutely powerful, and created a great book. Before we close, you co-founded the Independent Restaurant Coalition, and an important organization, and I just wanted to check in about 2025 and just like ask, and I've asked other folks, chefs and folks who work in the industry. We have a lot of diners, a lot of restaurant goers, a lot of fans listening to the show. How can they be great diners, and how can they help support your industry?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think we, as the restaurant people, need to remember and be cognizant that diners are not there for us. And it's not about like, and I think during the pandemic, we got into this idea of like, hey, like, what can you do to be better for us? And and the truth is that ended up biting us in the ass, because the second that all the diners got over the, hey, let's donate to restaurants for them to keep them alive.
Let's buy their merch. Let's buy their mixes. Let's buy their non-alcoholic whatever. Yeah.
At some point, they realized, hey, I'm spending my hard-earned shekels on these places, and they're acting like they're doing me a favor by being here.
Yeah.
Let's not forget, we are here to delight. And so what I want for diners is just enjoy. You come and enjoy. You eat the way you want. You want the well-done steak, you ask for the well-done steak. I don't want to encumber a diner to feel like they work for me. I am there for their delight and for their enjoyment. Now, the thing that I would ask the diners to consider is this. Do you eat out too much? To the point where when you go out to restaurants, are you not delighted anymore? Has it just become an afterthought? Cook more at home. Take the time to spend with yourself, with your family in your kitchen. Spend more time cooking at home. Because then when you come out to my restaurant, you will be truly delighted by the fact that someone took your dish for you. Someone washed your dish for you. Someone brought a dish to you. Someone wiped your table. Someone took care of you. You've been looked after. Then that experience will be magical for you. And then you'll pay the bill and you'll enjoy. And all of the things that I think we mixed up throughout the pandemic in terms of like who's here for who will go back to being correct.
I'm happy you flipped the question. I really am, because I think it brings up a great point. There's a before time and there's an after time. We're in 25 and we're well beyond that era, and especially with inflation and prices going up as they are, and menu pricing becoming a topic of great debate, that we have to realize that dining less and dining better is an ethic that will help everyone involved. And I mean, are there too many restaurants, or are there too many seamless orders? When you say like dine less, I'm not saying who's the culprit, but what part of the industry is maybe failing there?
Look, my family came here from the former USSR. So as someone I'm the first American born in my family. I believe in capitalism to my core, like hardcore. So free market, that's what I believe in. So is there too many restaurants? The market will tell you.
Yeah.
People will go and they will spend their dollars where they choose, and then they will spend them again where they choose. And when they get great value, that's what will happen. Unfortunately, what ends up happening is some good restaurants die. Now, a group that I think can participate in maybe a more productive, collaborative way is food journalism. I think that food journalism can play a part in making sure that great restaurants continue to be written about in their 7th and 8th and 9th year. To me, there should be a list of incredible restaurants that are 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old. That should be a list that comes out of a incredible magazine, right? Because then you're telling people like, hey, we wrote about this restaurant 5 or 6 years ago, or hey, it missed our radar. We didn't see it. But when you want to see restaurants that are truly thriving, that deserve and need the attention, talk about the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 year mark, right? And so are there too many restaurants? Not for me to say. The market will tell you. The market will spend its money where it wants. And look, like life happens, right? Good restaurants close sometimes, and that's just is what it is.
Yeah, it's a tough industry. Margins are where they're at. And I think many publications do this. The SF Cron and as well as New York Times have done their top hundreds and LA Times, and they cover restaurants that are not just new but historical. But also, I think, and I brought it up many times in the show, maybe 2 times, is that I think per your point about journalism and media, I think that there needs to be just more critics that are funded, and there needs to be more investment in criticism, and not just the new, but covering covering the city and covering multiple reviews a week in publications like the New York Times, because it's a public service for the restaurants, for the industry that is so important to the city, to actually fund these independent writers to go out and actually dine anonymous and actually say what's good, and hopefully if they're doing the job right, they're going to find some year 5, year 6, year 7 restaurants to write about for their large platforms.
Yeah.
How can government help restaurants?
Now you're talking.
Well, I've talked about this a lot about payroll tax.
Right. So now you're talking. So government has a major role to play.
Yeah.
So I think government can do a lot there. Now, look, there's a debate going on whether tax on tips is the thing.
Yeah.
I really think is important that we recognize service charges as should be a part of that, right? Because I think a lot of restaurants are trying to make a leap away from tips. We all have heard now, like, the fact that, like, tips have a past with, paying under the minimum wage or different things like that. I don't want to get into that. What I do want to recognize is we all do it differently, and that government can help, because why should they help? We employ more people per square foot than any other business in the country. We are the largest, I think the first or second largest private employer, and if you tally all the restaurants, in the entire country. The diversity of people that work in restaurants, you've got college people who are in the middle of college or master's degrees. You have formerly incarcerated people. You have newly naturalized citizens. You've got people who retired from a career and just are looking out for a way to stay busy and stay engaged. You've got high school kids with their first job. You have career servers. You have people who view this as a métier, right? Like, and they want to work in this industry their entire lives. The span of different kind of demos that work inside restaurants is incredibly important. Then you break it down to the amount of taxes that we provide for each metro and for the states and all of these different things like that. We keep the employment going, right? All of these things are super crucial. Now, what I think can be done is for us to start doing things like, trade schools, giving people free money for trade schools. Also, maybe like, to me, like the internship or kind of, what would you call it? Like before you're 18, right?
Yeah. Those
types of, I think a program like that, like a mentor-mentee program, if we could find kids who are 15, 16, and they're like, like me, high school is not for me. I'm not going to go to college. I barely am going to get out of here. How can the government say, great, we need you to have a skill, so what we're going to do is pay half your salary.
Yeah.
We'll pay half your salary. The restaurant will pay your other half. And all we need to do is show that you're going there, you're doing the 40 to 50 hours a week, you're going to the farmer's market, you're learning how to butcher, you're doing all these things. Guess what happens? In 2 years, you've got a high school graduate who has a skill. They've got a way to contribute, right?
That's a different model than just paying for trade school. I think like actually giving the restaurant half the salary is a brilliant idea.
Yeah, totally.
What about payroll taxes?
Look, payroll taxes are excessive. We have gotten to a place where we think that small businesses are in general are the piggy bank for our lives. And we forget the fact that for every tax we impose on these small businesses, they don't just disappear. They manifest in the price that you see. So when you start going to a restaurant and you're like, why is everything so expensive? Well, look at all the costs, right? You have electricity going through the roof. You've got insurance premiums, which have gone up 60% in the past 3 years. You have, in California, you have payroll, which has gone up exorbitantly, right? You have taxes, all of these different things. So the government can play a major role here in improving the economy, securing these restaurants, which are super important in a number of different ways. Also, think about this. Every time you look at a challenged neighborhood, a neighborhood that a lot of crime is happening, a neighborhood that a lot of kind of like bad behavior is happening, what do you see? Boarded up windows.
Exactly.
You see boarded up
Restaurants
windows.
keep neighborhoods safe.
Restaurants keep neighborhoods engaged, safe, vibrant, beautiful. And then if you ever meet a small business owner who didn't sweep the front of their store, why do they do that? The sidewalk's not theirs. Point of pride.
Yeah.
Right? Give these people a little bit. You give them $1, they'll turn that dollar into $2, right? And they will be one of the best investments you can make.
Yeah, I love the sentiment. Had a great conversation with Camille Marcus about this recently and other
She's
chefs.
incredible.
Incredible, both of you are. I think this is an important topic we'll continue covering on the show. David, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining This Is Taste.
Thank you so much for having me.
This Is Taste is hosted and produced by Eliza Barbanal and me, Matt Rodbar. The show is edited by lead producer Clayton Gumbert and supervised by Pat Stango, Director of Media Production and Development at Penguin Random House. Thanks to Shalia Harris and the production team at Penguin Random House. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Logo and guest illustrations by Ellie Skurzat. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter to keep updated on all cool things in the world of taste.